Thank you so much to Mark Covell to stay here this evening. Thank you so much for this possibility to speak about another way on the G8 of Genoa and your story. Thank you so much, Mark Covell.
It's my pleasure, Roberto.
You are welcome and you are welcome in Italy. Benvenuto Mark Covell, 25 anni del G8 di Genova. Ne parliamo ancora una volta insieme. Grazie di tutto. Mark Covell, so why it's important to speak about the G8 after 25 years? Perché è importante parlare ancora di Genova dopo 25 anni?
Well, this is going to be like a rather like special interview with yourself, Roberto, and I think also with your audience, because like for the first time in 25 years, we're going to discuss all the evidence and all the suspects involved in my case.
È importante perché è un evento che comunque ha segnato un'epoca e perché è una questione comunque che ha riguardato la nostra collettività. And so, what do you think about Italy after 25 years? Which is your idea of our country at the moment? Cosa ne pensi dell'Italia dopo 25 anni? Qual è la tua idea a proposito del nostro paese?
What do I think of Italy 25 years after G8? A lot has changed. At least the bad old days of Berlusconi are gone, and you know that all the trials are finished, and we've like managed to get some justice. But I still think there is a lot of work to be done in reforming your legal system, and also you know, steps can be made, you know, by the police to acknowledge their crimes. You know, with the Italian public, what happened here 25 years ago.
Molte cose sono cambiate anche a livello legale, anche a livello politico dopo 25 anni, ma la conoscenza di quella vicenda ancora è deficitaria e su questo bisogna intervenire. So Mark, I know very well that in their school students are not acknowledged adequate to the situation of the facts of G8 and their school. Please, what do you think about this problem? Cosa ne pensi del fatto che dopo 25 anni ragazze e ragazzi non conoscano i fatti della Diaz? And what do you think about the civil conscience in our country? Cosa ne pensi del fatto della coscienza civile nel nostro paese?
And I think, you know, about your first question, you know, it's a question for the Department of Education in Italy about how they handle the special history of Diaz. You know, there's, you know, it's a very infamous school. I have like tried to do some sort of like you know, education program with the students and with some of the schools in Genova, but it's kind of like being ad hoc. But you know, I've tried to you know, go to the DR school and speak with the students as many times as I can.
Bisognerebbe far conoscere i fatti di Genova non soltanto alla scuola Diaz ma in tutto il paese. So, what do you think about the President Cavanna, the president of Dia School? Cosa ne pensi del presidente Cavanna? And what do you think about his battle to know very well the facts of G8 and the facts of Diaz? Cosa ne pensi del presidente Cavanna e del suo impegno per far conoscere i fatti del G8, i fatti della Diaz?
I very much respect Dr. Cavanna, and I've worked with him an awful lot.
Ho molto rispetto per il dottor Cavanna. So, Mark.
Yeah.
Which are the person that you have in your hearts after 25 years? Elena Zulke, Daniel Thomas Albert, Anna Julia Krushko. Which are the person that you frequent also after 25 years? Quali sono le persone che frequenti dopo 25 anni? Quali sono le persone che ti sono rimaste nel cuore?
Well, they're all my best friends. You know, we've all been through an awful lot, so we like stick together as much as possible, I think. Um, you know, there's no you know single person that like really outstands, stands out really. You know, it was all a big, very like team effort back in those days.
Non frequento una persona in particolare, ma è molto importante comunque essersi mantenuti in rapporto dopo così tanti anni, perché abbiamo condiviso una lotta comune per la giustizia e per la verità. So, and why it's so important for you to have another process about your question, your stories in particular? Why it's important to reopen your process after 25 years? Perché è così importante riaprire il tuo processo, secondo te?
Well, of the 7 attempted murder cases that happened at Diaz, mine has the most evidence and is the most developed case out of all of the 7. And I do think if the suspects are like and witnesses are like re-interviewed, that new evidence will come to light.
È importante perché la mia vicenda non è ancora chiusa. So, Mark, another aspect of your
add this as well, Roberto, is that
please.
It's important to reopen my case because, like, my attempted murder case is like one of the most controversial cases, in Italy in the 21st century. And I need justice. Italy needs the truth. And these
È importante perché l'Italia merita giustizia.
A price, for what they did there.
È importante perché l'Italia merita giustizia e perché il mio caso è una vicenda che riguarda la collettività nel suo insieme. And so, Mark, another aspect of your tragedy, you met some months ago the Major Silvia Salis. What do you think about Silvia Salis, and what do you think about his passion on G8 and on this and on your story? Cosa ne pensi di Silvia Salis, di questa sindaca, e del suo impegno, della sua passione per la tua storia?
Well, she's a very smart and intelligent lady. I do think that one day that she might actually go on to become the next Prime Minister of Italy. When, I do not know. Yes, I did meet with her at the end of April. It was, to discuss a number of issues about the 25th anniversary. I can't go too much into detail because there's like confidentiality involved on like both sides. But I'm, hopeful of a positive outcome. With her assistance concerning like police reform, perhaps. I don't know. It's still very early days. I do think that in the next month or so, she needs to stand up and make a major speech about the anniversary and about what happened here 25 years ago.
È una donna molto intelligente che potrebbe anche diventare Presidente del Consiglio in Italia. È una persona con la quale che ha dimostrato passione e interesse per la mia storia a 25 anni dai fatti di Genova, appunto, e adesso bisogna comunque spingere, bisogna riaprire il caso e bisogna fare una questione di diritti umani. And so, Mark, and what do you think about the Italian police, which is changed in Italy, in Italian police after 25 years?
Well,
cosa ne pensi della polizia italiana e cosa è cambiata? And what do you think about the code for agents? Cosa ne pensi dei codici per gli agenti?
There's a whole new generation of Italian police officer out there, a younger generation that's coming into the force. How much they know about the history of Giotto, I do not know. But they do need to learn it and learn the lessons from it. as well.
C'è una nuova generazione di poliziotti oggi che forse non conosce neanche i fatti del G8 e questo è grave, dovrebbero avere assolutamente contezza di quello che è accaduto. Mark, you have the possibility to forget some aspects of your tragedy. Hai la possibilità di dimenticare alcuni aspetti della tua vicenda o no?
Sorry, I don't understand the question. Sorry.
I repeat, it's possible for you to forget some aspects of your tragedy,
Yeah.
or do you remember everything? O ricordi tutto?
Yeah, I do remember everything right up to the point I went into a coma at Diaz. But like, I mean, I you know, what I'm also, you know, hopefully going to be showing you in this interview is like all the, you know, the written evidence, the photographic and video evidence concerning my case for the first time. You know, because it's not, you know, you can't just like recount, you know, what happened to yourself to, you know, as enough to get justice. You actually have to have, you know, witness statements. You have to have photo and video footage and stuff to actually build a case. And, you know, after 25 years, I think the Italian public need to, you know, see all the evidence in my case and understand who the actual suspects are.
Per me è una vicenda dolorosissima che non posso dimenticare, che non deve essere dimenticata, che deve essere anzi portata come esempio di tutto quello che non dovrebbe mai essere. So, Mark, would you like to have a confrontation sooner or later with the officers who massacred you that night in their school? Vorresti avere un confronto prima o poi con coloro che ti hanno massacrato?
Well, I think 25 years after, I think some of them, you know, if they've got any human decency left in them, is to like step forward and speak the truth about what happened that night, and like help me identify, you know, the other policemen who, you know, who were involved in like trying to kill me that night. You know, you know, there are several, you know, key witnesses who I do know more than what they've spoken of, and I think if all the other evidence is like presented to them, it may refresh their memory about like what they saw, perhaps.
Sarebbe bello, ma sono loro che non hanno voluto finora avere un confronto con me, sono loro che si sono sempre sottratti. So, you once told me that you thought the Five Star Movement was born on the streets of Genoa during the G8. What else, in your opinion, was born during the event?
What else was born?
Yeah, what else in politician, in society, in the war, in the Italian world?
Well, I do think that
Cos'altro è nato oltre i 5 Stelle, secondo te, nella politica italiana e nella società italiana durante quell'evento? Please.
I mean, I do think that this was even evident in the you know, 20th anniversary. I think there are like, you know, many, you know, politicians around the world who are now realizing that, you know, corporate globalization is broken and does not work, and the world does not have like a, you know, a working global economic system anymore, and it's about to be like wrecked by climate change. I think there are, you know, a lot of politicians coming around to like, you know, realizing, you know, what we were saying in 2001.
Sono nati tanti soggetti, tanti movimenti che hanno capito che la globalizzazione è rotta e che è fondamentale battersi per un cambiamento climatico, per un altro modello economico, sociale di sviluppo. Bisognerà capire come saranno in grado poi di spostare questa azione dalla vicenda della semplice protesta alla vicenda della proposta. So, Mark, what do you think about the Fridays for Future by Greta Thunberg and not only? Cosa ne pensi dei Fridays for Future di Greta Thunberg e non solo di Greta?
Sorry, I didn't get all of that. Sorry.
Please.
Sorry.
No problem. So, Mark, another aspect is that you have found the love in Piazza Liponda, your Laura, you met in Piazza Liponda. Please tell us about this fantastic aspects. Parlaci di questo fantastico aspetto. Tu hai trovato la tua moglie Laura in Piazza Liponda, parlane.
Well, Laura is like, very amazing lady. I mean, when I met her in Piazza Liponda, we both instantly fell in love with each other. It's so good that there is a good story coming out of that place when there's been like so much bad memories as such. And we've been together ever since 2012, and she massively put me back together again after the trials.
Laura è una delle cose più belle che mi siano capitate e non a caso l'ho trovata in Piazza Liponda. It's a fairy tale, è una favola.
Well, it certainly brings a smile to Heidi and to everyone in Piazza Liponda when they when they see us together.
Beh, sai, Piazza Liponda è un po' un crocevia di storie, un po' un crocevia di destini. So many destinies have been fulfilled in Genoa. What do you change, Mark Covell, in these 25 years? Come sei cambiato in questi 25 anni? What has changed in your opinion, in your perception of life, of politics and so on? Cosa è cambiato in te, nella tua percezione della politica, della lotta, di tutto?
I think it's hard to look back 25 years and look at the young man who was 33 years old, who stepped into Diaz for the first time. I was a very naive, young, inexperienced journalist who didn't really know what was going on. 25 years later, though, Diaz has defined my life, and it will never be over.
And so, Mark, is there anyone that you would like to meet again from the story that you have never had the chance to talk to again in these 2 decades? C'è qualcuno che vorresti incontrare di quella vicenda che non hai più avuto modo di vedere, con cui non hai più avuto modo di confrontarti?
Oh, there's a few people. I mean, there's
molte persone.
There's Zero Calcari. I want to meet him again. I saw him a year after Diaz, for the first time when he was a very young artist. I want to meet, Paolo Lupi, the doctor who saved my life that night at San Martino. It'd be good to see Massimo Pastori, my lawyer, from those days. He lives up in Torino. But I've made friends with so many people, hundreds of people in Genova, so they're all equally special.
Sono tante le persone. Vorrei incontrare Zero Calcare, per esempio, poi vorrei incontrare il dottor Lupi, che è colui che mi ha salvato la vita, l'avvocato Massimo Pastore. Sono tante le persone che mi mancano, che vorrei incontrare. Queste sono quelle più importanti. Zero Calcare was 17 years old during the G8 events, and today is one of the greatest cartoonists in the world. Just like Cara Sievereit, Mark. Cara Sievereit today is a cartoonist in Canada and was a girl from the Diaz school, was massacred also her in the Diaz school, please. Anche Cara Sievereit.
Yeah, there's a recent video posted with Zero Calcari being questioned by a pupil from Diaz about those days 25 years ago. Fingers crossed he can make it to the city. We don't know yet, but he's a very busy man, but we shall see. When I first met him in the summer of 2002, I didn't really know who he was, and he was very much an unknown artist, and he gave me one of his posters based on the raid on Diaz, and it's a very special piece of work that I hold dear to my heart.
Ma quella vicenda ha cambiato storie, destini, vite. Cara Tiverite all'epoca appunto era una ragazza, stava con un suo amico, forse il suo fidanzato in quella scuola, e poi è diventata una delle più importanti fumettiste in Canada, un'attivista per i diritti ambientali. Ecco, questo ti dice quanto sia rimasto comunque di quella storia. There is a person who is particularly close to my heart, and it's Melanie Jonask. Mark, please tell me about Melanie Jonask, because it's very important that the Italian public know very well the story of Melanie. Parlami di Melanie Jonask, perché è importante che perché il pubblico italiano conosca la sua storia.
Well, Melanie's case is probably as equally as tragic as mine. She I think she lives in Berlin, and she's looked after by a number of other Diaz victims, and she still lives with serious injuries, including extreme head trauma. I'm not going to go into details because it's not really my I don't have permission to do so. But I do hope to see Melanie on this anniversary if she can make it down, and also all the German plaintiffs, ex-plaintiffs are very welcome to come to Geneva. It's a safe city. You're going to be very warmly welcomed and very much looked after and loved.
Melanie è l'emblema di quella vicenda. Lei ha subito delle ferite gravissime, è andata 4 giorni in coma, poi è tornata in Germania, ha avuto degli attacchi epilettici, delle crisi, adesso si è ripresa, ma comunque Melanie Jonask non aveva neanche mai manifestato durante quella vicenda. Questo la dice lunga anche sulla ferocia che è stata esercitata nei confronti di questa persona e sulla barbarie che è stata compiuta. And so, Mark, tell me about another person that is close to my heart, that is Anna Julia Kushkow. Parlami anche di Anna Julia Kushkow, that now live in Italy, Anna Julia Kushkow, and is married with Carlo Quartino, your dearest friend. Oggi è sposata col tuo caro amico, col tuo e col mio caro amico Carlo Quartino.
Yeah, I think that's another fantastic, positive story that came out of all the trials of Carlo Q meeting up with Anna. And I'm just very glad that they're both very happy. They've got some great kids. It's funny how it's how we've all developed and moved on from those days, and some of us have got families, and we're trying to make the best of our lives.
È una storia positiva, fantastica, terribile, ma che dimostra anche la bellezza che c'è dietro quella vicenda, che c'è dietro quella cosa incredibile che è stato quel G8. And so, Mark, Genoa has changed my life, has changed your life, has changed the life of the Giuliani's family, has changed our vision of the world, has changed our destiny, has changed the story and the course of story of my country, and maybe of the Europe in universal part. So what do you think about the new generation in fight for another idea of the world? Another world is still possible for you? Genova ha cambiato moltissimi destini, un altro mondo è ancora possibile secondo te? UG8, we 6 billion person. Yeah. Do you remember? Voi G8, noi 6 miliardi, ricordi?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember all the slogans and
lo ricordo bene.
That was said there, 25 years ago. What can I say to a new generation? I think you need to look back into recent history and learn when all the protests started and what kind of message was being said 25 years ago about some of the issues you are living with and dealing with today, like climate change, the collapse of globalization, wars, trying to survive and have a life, so you really do need to look back at Geneva and learn what happened here and apply it in your political beliefs in the future.
Bisogna credere ancora in un'altra idea di futuro. Certo che un altro mondo è ancora possibile, certo è più difficile perché sono state dette troppe bugie, è più difficile perché siamo durante un periodo di guerra, è più difficile perché siamo durante un periodo di barbarie, però un altro mondo è ancora possibile, vedere nuove generazioni che ci credono ancora, questa è la cosa più importante.
And of
So
course,
Mark,
Roberto, can I also just like add this? I think this new generation is, you know, going to have to deal with the same old enemy of like fascism in Italy. Okay, so that's another reason to learn
so,
from the
so,
past.
so I don't,
Is that I
I,
think
I
this new
don't.
generation, you know, it's going to have the same problems as we had like 25 years ago to deal with. So that's another reason to learn from it.
I don't realize an answer about the fascism in Italy. We have the Meloni's government. Many person told that is a fascist government. So, what do you think about the Italian government? And do you think that is fascist is a fascist government? Pensi che il governo Meloni sia un governo fascista o comunque di ispirazione fascista, come dicono alcuni osservatori?
I mean, there's definitely a you know element, you know, far right wing elements inside you know the coalition of parties there. You know how much like power and influence they have, I do not know, but it's a problem that never goes away on the Italian political scene. Meloni, yeah, she's a very smart, intelligent woman, but she hasn't done anything about police reform, and this will be a major issue in the next Italian election.
Meloni indubbiamente viene da lì. Dire che sia un governo fascista forse è eccessivo, ma certamente è un governo che ha quella matrice. So, Mark, I think that the matrix of the Meloni's government is precisely Genoa. You must know very well that some policies that was in Diaz was promoted during these 25 years, and you must know very well that a part of the political class by Meloni's government is from the party by National Alliance by Gianfranco Fini. What do you think about this evolution of Italian politics? I remember very well that you obstaculate a meeting with of Gianfranco Fini with Tony Blair in the 26. Ricordo molto bene che tu ostacolasti, impedisti un incontro fra Tony Blair e Gianfranco Fini. Once time you told me the fascists don't change. Fini is not changed from the 21. So, what do you think about it? Una volta mi hai detto che Fini non cambia, che i fascisti non cambiano. Lo pensi ancora? Do you think today this about Fini, Meloni and National Alliance and the far right, the Italian far right, pensi ancora questo della destra italiana?
Look, fascism in Italy changes names and you know they change party names and like they reform, but they're never destroyed. They'll never go away as such. I mean, I think yeah, in this last year, you've seen Filippo Ferri become chief of police in a town in you know, near Ferrara, I think it is. This caused me like great anguish and great offence. I mean, apart from you know, I feel sorry for the citizens of Ferrara getting a chief of police like this man, who is incidentally a suspect in my case. But Meloni did not intervene or do anything about this appointment, and so that's another sad indictment of her.
No, i fascisti non cambiano, Meloni ha quella matrice e il mio caso è emblematico, anche il fatto che non sia stato mai riaperto, come il fatto che non ci sia stato il processo per Carlo Giuliani, questi fatti dicono bene da dove vengono e dove stiamo andando. So Mark, the flotilla was attacked.
Hold on.
Please, tell me.
Oh, I just need to have a cigarette while we're talking about all of this. So, right.
Without problem. So Mark, today...
Now listen, Roberto,
Please.
One of the reasons I wanted to do this interview with you is to talk about the evidence and the suspects in my case. Yes.
Please. Tell me everything without problem. Speak to me the evidence in your case, please. I have no problem.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me just bring up.
When you want, please. I stay here.
Okay. There is a document called the Selezione Corte Appello Covell, which I sent to you. Okay.
Okay.
And I want you, later on is to take excerpts of the text from this document and put it in your video interview if possible, or maybe make a separate video. However, I will name the suspects involved, in my case, and they are as follows. Hold on a second. Right, okay, here we go. Michelangelo Fornia, he's the first one. The second suspect involved in my case is Spartaco Mortala. The third suspect is Carlo Di Siro. Fourth subject is Nando Dominici. Fifth suspect, Filippo Ferri. And there's also Fabio Cisamara. There is various cross-referencing evidence from witnesses that placed these men there during the attacks on me on that night at Diaz. Now I'm naming them myself, so if these men think that they are facing a false accusation or want to sue me, by all means come to court and I'll take you on, because I do want to lay out the evidence against these men for their part in this.
Ci sono dei documenti che riguardano Spartaco Mortalo, che riguardano Fabio Cicimaro, che consiglierebbero una riapertura del mio caso. So, which are these documents? Why they are so important? Che documenti sono? Perché sono così importanti to reopen your case, per riaprire il tuo caso?
I think for the first 10-12 years, we didn't really have a clear idea of what had happened or all the evidence. But I think it all became clear in 2012 as the case was archived, how much we actually had. But I think for various legal reasons and also problems with the Italian media, none of the evidence of my case has ever come out in public yet. But this is changing with this interview.
Ci sono dei problemi con i media italiani che non hanno fatto riaprire il mio caso perché non hanno voluto esaminare dei documenti che pure ci sono, perché c'è una situazione di omertà all'interno del vostro paese che rende impossibile affrontare determinate vicende. So Mark, and what do you think about your process? Is possible to reopen it in the next years? È possibile riaprire il tuo processo nei prossimi anni with Enrico Zucca and so on, con Enrico Zucca e via discorrendo?
No, it won't be Zucca. Zucca's retiring on July 8th, 2 weeks before the anniversary.
Zucca va in pensione.
And he won't be Attorney General and he won't be a prosecutor anymore. So if my case is reopened, it will have a different prosecutor.
Vedremo. Comunque il mio caso si dovrebbe riaprire con o senza Zucca, che andrà, come detto, in pensione il prossimo mese di luglio per raggiunti limiti di età. So Mark, there is also that you want to tell about the Italian public. C'è qualcos'altro che vuoi dire al pubblico italiano? There there is other particulars about your event? C'è qualcosa che vuoi dire ancora a proposito della tua vicenda?
There's also an appeal I want to put out in this video. There are two very important police witnesses involved in my case, and these are Lieutenant Cremonini and Lieutenant Del Gais. These were Carabinieri commanders on the night of Diaz. They have only given a partial statement about what they saw, so I'm appealing to the Carabinieri and to these two individuals to step forward in this 25th anniversary and actually speak the full truth about what they saw that night.
C'è qualcosa che voglio dire a proposito dei carabinieri che probabilmente hanno visto quello che mi è successo, sarebbe ora che cominciassero a dirlo. Mark, there is any particular that is not famous in the Diaz event? C'è qualcosa che non è ancora noto nella vicenda della Diaz?
Sorry?
Is there aspects that is not clear in the Diaz events? C'è qualcosa che non è ancora chiaro nella vicenda della Diaz?
Is there anything that we don't know, you mean? Yeah, there's a few things. I mean, the 10 phone numbers are in the phone records that are classified by Italian national security. That's something I'd like to get sorted out if possible.
Moltissimi aspetti non sono ancora chiari nella sicurezza nazionale, in quello che è successo in quei giorni. So Mark, what do you want to say to the Giuliani's family? Cosa vuoi dire oggi alla famiglia Giuliani?
Well, I have all, the highest respect for Eleanor and Heidi and Giuliano and, what they've been through over the last, 25 years. I think that what happened in Piazza Alamonda is a very big open wound that Italy needs to deal with. It's either going to be Salis when she becomes Prime Minister or Meloni, if she has the courage to do so, is to open a special commission of inquiry into Carlo's death to establish the facts. That would be a good first step, for example.
Meloni dovrebbe varare una commissione d'inchiesta, non lo farà. Io ho il massimo rispetto per Heidi, Elena e Giuliano Giuliani, che sono stati sconvolti da quella vicenda, e voglio mandarlo con un grande abbraccio. Voglio fare un appello al popolo italiano affinché si informi, affinché non lasci cadere nell'oblio. So Mark, today...
this is how we would have done it in the UK. We'd have an inquiry like this, and then if there is enough evidence, it can then lead to the case being reopened, and for whoever the suspects are, that they're prosecuted. But it's really down to Eleanor and Heidi and Giuliano to ask for what they want, to solve Carlo's case.
Li aspetto anche in Inghilterra se vogliono, ed è molto importante che si sappia che anche in Inghilterra la vicenda è stata comunque affrontata. Mark, today the flotilla was attacked in the Mediterranean Sea. A new generation is on its way to Gaza, fighting for the rights of the Palestinian people. What do you think about?
Well, I very much support what they're trying to do. If there's anything that we can do to help, please ask. But I just do hope that, half the convoy is still on its way there. I think something like 21 boats have been intercepted, but a number have got through. But we shall see over the next night how it goes. But it's never given enough media coverage these days, because what's happening elsewhere in the Persian Gulf.
Hanno tutto il mio supporto, queste persone straordinarie che vanno a portare aiuti alla Palestina, che si battono per una causa giusta, che lottano per quello in cui credono e soprattutto che lottano per un mondo più giusto e migliore. per tutti. Ma thank you so much. If you want to speak about, if you want to say other things, I stay here. But I think that we can conclude this interview. Thank you so much for your kindness, and thank you so much for your testimony. Another way, thank you to choose me choose me for your analysis about the GX facts, and not only. Thank you.
One
Grazie
last
per avermi
thing.
scelto ancora una volta.
One last thing, Roberto, just behind my shoulder, that is Neo, my cat, sleeping on my bike behind me, if you can see. So just in case anyone was wondering, but that's Neo.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Roberto, thank
We can
you.
conclude it?
Yeah, we are.